going on, Cowboys Culture? Welcome back to another episode of Cowboys Culture Podcast. I'm Ethan, this is Jacob, and that's our good buddy Steven. You know what we do here is we just correct the narrative of the Dallas Cowboys one episode at a time, and that's what we're looking to do today. And wow, what a great Victory Monday it is, eh, boys?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So, we're going to get into what we usually get into. We're going to get our sponsor from Steven first and go from there. Steven?
Yeah. Sponsor remains the same. It's 360 Roofing and Restoration. God, we love you guys so much. They're your go-to in the DFW Metroplex for your roofing needs, residential and commercial. And special shout-out, fellas, to the new Heisman Trophy winner from LSU, Jalen Hurts. He actually finished second in the Heisman Trophy run-in about 4 years ago. But, no, Jaden Daniels from LSU. Congrats.
Nice. Awesome. Jacob, hit us with some interesting news.
Jalen Hurts obviously on the mind this evening.
Big time.
We're going to talk a lot about it. Got a couple of things recent news-wise. First off, big news. Cowboys are now, as of last night, Sunday night. We're recording on Monday. The Cowboys are now the number one spot in the NFC East.
Let's do
making them the number 2 in the NFC overall. So we're leading our division at the moment. Obviously, things can change, which we can get into. But as of right now, we run the NFC East. Second, Dak is officially the leader in the MVP race. He has the best odds to win that award. We've been talking about it all season, how he should. Now the odds makers are finally catching up. So that's number 2. Number 3, kind of good, kind of bad, depending on how you look at it. Many of you guys probably saw Hankins went down with an injury during the game last night. From the early reports, it's kind of looking like it's not as bad as it could have been. They're saying a high ankle sprain. So with those, obviously that can get pretty bad. It could not be, or it can not. It can be a couple weeks. They're thinking maybe on the lower, on the less severe side. So maybe a couple weeks. They're thinking he might be back for the playoffs or a little bit sooner. So that's a tough loss for a couple weeks. We really need him in the middle there. But it's time for Mozzie Smith to step up and guys like that. If we can just hold off until the playoffs, we should get him back. But
yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, if Dallas wins this coming week against Buffalo, going to be a tough battle up there in Buffalo. But I believe that would clinch the playoffs. So I think if I've got that right, they win in Buffalo this week, they are in the playoffs. And we've for the seeds and for the division, we just obviously have to let it play out.
Yeah.
But Cowboys literally won one away from the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. So all that recent news, and then one of the biggest things that not us, but the rest of the world learned this week that we're gonna break down here in a little bit is the Eagles are frauds. It's official.
It's official.
So that's recent news for the week. We're gonna go ahead and get into our first segment. So Steven, take it away.
Yeah, thanks for breaking that news that the Eagles are frauds. Everyone needs to know it. Philadelphia has played this. The media's helped prop them up a lot. We're a podcast of narratives. We're a podcast of Dallas Cowboy narratives, and along with the Dallas Cowboys comes the NFC East and its rivals. So they just it was just really bad for them. It was just kind of another day at the office for us, especially when we play at home. But man, did they just look really bad. So that's 2 weeks in a row they've looked incredibly awful. So just talking about that game and talking about the Eagles-Cowboys game from last night at the Death Star. Total destruction. Cowboys won by 20. The Eagles' offense did not have a single point.
Touchdown.
Excuse me. Yeah, they didn't score a touchdown at all. Their kicker got all the glory, and then there was a scoop and score for them on defense. But so they boasted an entire 13 points. So our takeaways from the Eagles game, I think, is where we start. I'll quickly just say this. I kind of said this before we jumped on here, and I'll try to treat it as fairly as possible. But for me, my takeaways were I did like when they swapped, kind of followed suit from the second half of last week, right? They swapped versus the Seahawks. They swapped Gilmore and Bland. I think that was the right call. 33-year-old Gilmore kept AJ in his pocket all night long. And then, so I appreciated that, and I appreciated that piece of coaching and everything, and it certainly paid off. AJ did not have a very good night, or anyone that plays offense for the Eagles. But my overall takeaway is it's just another day at the office for the Dallas Cowboys when they play at home. It's another blowout at home. I hate to downplay such a great matchup as far as it was a highly touted matchup, right? It was the first place Eagles coming in to play the 9-3 hot five in a row Dallas Cowboys, I just kind of I said that on our episode from last week. I didn't expect it to be very close. I think I made like a 31-17 prediction. Giving the Eagles way more credit than deserved. But overall, there's a ton of takeaways. Obviously, no game is created equal. But for me, my overall takeaway is it's just another. We had the Seahawks gave us a better game. Heck, the Commanders gave us a better game back on Thanksgiving. I mean, we've been saying this about this team for a long time as far as the Eagles. It's just, here's your proof. We've outplayed them twice now. They did get away with one up in Philly. We ensured that didn't happen. We took them wire to wire. So, Ethan, what are your takeaways?
Well, I wanted to get a little bit more detailed.
Of course, yeah.
But, kind of what did we see? We saw what some people or in the media, very few people in the media saw. We saw what most Cowboys fans saw. And if you didn't, it's the truth. I mean, the Eagles, they have been extremely average and lucky. Mm-hmm. They have beaten decent to bad teams very tightly. And however you feel about the Bills or the Chiefs, they barely beat them too. And in my opinion, I think those guys are average teams at best with just good quarterbacks. And so we are I mean, if you want to do us on a 1 to 10, we're a 9 and they're like a 5 as far as like strength of a team. Mm-hmm. I think they've got a couple good players on their offense, and man, those guys really let you down. But I would say who stood out for me. Obviously you got to go Gilly. I mean, Gilly shut it down. I mean, the same way I felt about Ferg 2 weeks ago or last week against Seattle, where they're chirping at you, they're talking, and you get a first down, and you stand over them, and you put your hand out, and you get a touchdown, and you look back, and you stare at them. That's tough. That's hard, man. Like, when the game is tight, and you're like, they're chirping at you, and you're chirping back, but they don't get you, you get them. Yep. Gilly did that. AJ called him old.
Yeah.
And then after about that, he stripped you, butt naked. You dropped the ball. What a goofball. Mm-hmm. Then, fourth down, you really thought you had something going with Smith. Too bad. Took it away from you. Big passes, even if Gilly kind of looked a little burnt, you didn't get the ball. You got that one out of bounds pass on first down that AJ was going, and he stepped out of bounds a little bit. I mean, you didn't. Gilly kind of gave you a little shove there. That's good play.
Yeah, look, Gilmore plays chess, not checkers.
Yeah, he flexed.
He knows who he is.
He didn't flex his speed or muscle or anything outside of obviously the rip, and AJ's a little boy, but he flexed his veteran and intellect. And
AJ was flustered that whole game with Gilmore. He was so mad at him the whole time.
I mean, Gilmore's a 2-time champ. Super Bowl champ.
He's a future Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer.
Defensive Player of the Year, and then at 33?
Yeah.
I mean, the dude's going out there. I mean, he's seen 15, 20 A.J. Browns, and some of them are probably better than him. You know, he plays against CeeDee Lamb at practice. And CeeDee Lamb's better than A.J. Brown by a long shot. But anyway, I'll say, who played well? Gilly, Dak, CD. I mean, even though he didn't have all the crazy yards that he usually does, I mean, anytime you can kind of do like a little waltz in and do kind of a little fabulous dance like he did, you know what I'm talking about? That was, I don't know what it was.
Yeah, we're done with the CeeDee Lamb thing, right? We're done with trying to figure out if CeeDee Lamb's okay.
The dance wasn't like, I need to go back and watch it, but it wasn't like, it wasn't something that I would necessarily do, or like you see somebody who can, like, it was one of those things when you look at it and you're like, it was kind of disrespectful that he's dancing.
It had what I call buttery swag, and that's a very old white person thing to say.
It was kind of sassy.
Yeah, it was a little bit. It was you just don't matter.
Yeah, it's just like he didn't think he was gonna have to like regret that dance. He's like, look, this is a little bit saucy, a little sassy, but you're gonna have to eat it, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I'm gonna be very slow with it.
Yeah. Just I'm right here. It's kind of taking up your time, some clock time or whatever, some commercial time.
I'm gonna make Chris Collinsworth have to comment on this.
Like, look at the way he's moving his hips. I mean,
you just wish you could. You wish you could do that.
Yeah, but you can't.
Well, Collinsworth, man, just you know how I am with announcers. You know, I love my Romo moments in Jim Nance. Greg Olson, just wish he didn't do this all the time. And then in Collinsworth, Tarico's a pro. He's an old. He's cool. But Collinsworth last night said something like just out there, kind of kicking. I don't know what the comment was. Just kind of beating the tar off these guys. I mean, you don't need a spleen to do that.
But anyway,
shout out Mike McCarthy.
But I mean, let's stop.
Hey, just for the record, Mike McCarthy is 1-0. He has not lost a game without an appendix.
That's true.
For the record,
yeah, he's 1-0 without an appendix.
He's never lost without.
But I'll say, Ferg. I mean, it was legit. Let me tell you something.
His appendix did lose to the Cardinals, so it's kind of the worst appendix of all time.
Yeah. I'll say this: the only person to me that played poorly was Terrence Steele.
Yeah.
But
he was the only one.
He stepped up from last game, but he again was the weak link. I think there is definitely a matchup problem.
Biotish had a rough time. That certainly wasn't Terrence Steele, but. He was getting bullied a little bit.
I've seen, but I wanted to give a little special shout out because this is one of my favorite guys, and I know you watch, so just hopefully you're hearing this. I saw Tyler Smith just straight up I don't even know what he did with these specific players. I think you saw Josh Sweat at one play, just he went from one side of the field to the other, and then he kind of ate him at one point, and then he was gone, and then I don't know what happened, but that dude moves people. He's unbelievable. And then Dak, Gilly. And just
shout out Tyler Smith on God.
For me, I wanted to kind of say this because I was saying this pretty much the whole game, and just for you Cowboys fans that don't know, me and Jacob were at the game, and I was holding it down for the fans. If you follow us on Instagram, you saw the picture I posted on the story. Brandon Aubrey scored more points than the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah,
he
was now to be
had
fair,
15 points, including extra points. I'm including extra points. He had 3, 4. He had 15. He had 15 total points. The Eagles had 13. So
yeah,
it's pretty embarrassing.
To be fair, though, Brandon Aubrey is a first round draft pick in the Major League Soccer draft. Went to Notre Dame. Never played football ever, and then decided to go to the USFL. Kind of earn a paycheck there, and then kind of walks his way into Dallas, and is on a swift way to maybe being the best kicker of all time. Yeah. I do want a special shout out to him though. a couple weeks back on Thanksgiving, we saw Deron Bland make history.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Aubrey made history last night. He's the first kicker in NFL history to hit a consecutive field goal, or just two field goals in the same game that are from 59 or more.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a dog. Well, Jacob, what about you?
What's your
talk-
takeaways?
I mean, I saw what everybody else did. Just a complete
Snooze fest.
just dismantling of the Eagles. Didn't look like it didn't look like they had heart anymore. They didn't look like they knew what they were doing. Sirianni for the first time wasn't celebrating flags and all this kind of stuff. He was over there looking confused. Jalen was throwing to receivers that weren't even throwing to things that weren't even existing.
He was having a difficult
He was
time.
having a hard time. I saw the Eagles in complete desperation mode, having to go for it on fourth down, faking punts, all that just to walk away with 6 total offensive points. And then obviously you got that one defensive takeaway that led to some points there, which was over half your points for the entire game.
Yeah.
But, man, I saw people are going to say, and I've heard it already. I don't normally watch the media, talking heads and all that, but I did a little bit after this game just to see what they were saying. You hear a lot of, Dak didn't have his greatest game, but he didn't need to, and sure, yeah. But when you look at that first half, when Dak actually needed to have a good game and he needed to put points on the board, we're talking 3 straight touchdowns and then a field goal drive at the end of the half. And then from then on, it was really just clock management at that point. I think what I saw is Mike McCarthy, even having missed half the week with a surprise surgery like that.
He sprinted down the sidelines for a timeout.
He did a lot better in this game
He
as
threw
opposed
that challenge flag on that Rico Dowdle
Yeah,
thing.
and
he
then-
threw
and-
it at the ref.
that was a huge challenge.
It's pretty funny.
That was a challenge that added a touchdown, right? Or that gave us a touchdown that wasn't called one at first.
To be fair, I know you guys were at the game. I was watching on TV. When NBC's camera went over the top of the, the pile up on the goal line, it was like, what were you guys doing? This guy's 3 feet into the end
It
zone.
was clear, but I'm saying that overall,
No, the fans heard it. They were chirping.
Yeah.
They were screaming.
overall, Mike's game plan coming into this game offensively was not what I expected, but it worked. We came into this game, and I was thinking, this team has a questionable secondary, so let's light them up. That's what we did last time, pretty much. Dak threw for over 300,
270 or something.
Yeah, I'm talking about last game. Their secondary couldn't cover us.
Yeah, he broke into the threes on the last.
That's what I was expecting, but we came out here and just straight up. Mike was like, Mike and Schottenheimer were thinking we could run the ball, we could overpower them, and we did.
Pollard had a day, obviously.
Yeah, we ran the ball down their throats.
Rico scored and was a great number 2. And then on top of that, man, the way we were working CD into that, and the way we were using Turpin, you're right, Jake. That was a beautifully planned game.
It was like we came out with what they did not expect, and it seemed like they weren't prepared for. We ran the ball down their throats, and then right when they finally thought maybe we're gonna figure out how to stop this run, we hit them over the top with CD. Ferguson breaks off for a 30-yard play. Gallup comes in with a toe drag. We get Turpin involved.
That was just an absolute dime.
You get Cooks.
I need to go back and see who it was for I think it was either your slot corner or one of your safeties or linebackers. Ferg caught that pass.
Oh yeah, I think that was Blankenship,
and
maybe?
he threw that dude to the ground twice.
Well, Blankenship, he ended Blankenship's career. Ferguson.
So he caught the ball while you're committing pass interference, even though they didn't call it. He threw you to the ground. He tucks the ball, gets another 20 yards, and then you chase him down because he's a little bit bigger. Maybe he's not as fast as you, which didn't matter, obviously. And then you got him again, and then he juked you, but he also pushed you to the ground, and you fell.
Yeah.
And then it took 2 or 3 guys to take him down.
That guy.
When
When he just wrecked Blankenship in open field, that put Blankenship out of the game and maybe out for the year. That you guys may not remember, but it reminded me of It reminded me of a young Jason Witten, back when Jason Witten used to. There was a time before Jason Witten just caught the ball and went down. He used to destroy people as a tight end in the open field, and Ferg looked like that last night. Man, I continue to be super excited about.
And
this
that's the
guy,
thing.
man.
That's like when I'm trying to say, who stood out to me. It's kind of like
Everybody.
who stood out in a positive way, who stood out in a negative way. I really can't say anybody on our team that stood out in a negative way. I think everybody really came to play. Everybody was ready to go. Nobody really stood out like, man, that dude's struggling. And then, but when it comes to the positive side, it's hard to even say anybody outside of, like, I definitely think Gilmore stood out just in a sense of, like, he took it upon himself to make sure that he shut down A.J. Brown and made sure that, to make his mark on that game. But outside of that, like Steven was saying, everybody was doing what they normally do. CeeDee Lamb was having his moments. The running game was what it's been the past couple of weeks, which is significantly improved.
The CD jet sweep, I can't get enough of.
That
it.
was working well. What was I going to say? All of our playmakers were doing their parts. Micah, the D line was playing disciplined football, keeping and containing Hurts, not letting him run all over the place. Micah getting some pressures. Our coverage was, we were containing all their playmakers. So it's like, obviously, I don't know where I was going with that, but basically I was just saying, when it comes down to what stood out to me, it's really just like, man, we just played our normal football that we've been playing over the past 5-6 weeks. And really, I would say probably what stood out to me in a positive way was mostly coaching and mostly being prepared for that type of a game, which is something that was kind of like the knock on the Cowboys in the past. And really, when you want to say what stood out to me in a negative way, like literally every person. Jalen didn't have a good game. None of the receivers had a good game. The running backs maybe you can say Swift was their better guy that day, but even still, he didn't do much.
I think Big Play Slay had 2 pass breakups. So
Big Play Slay was still giving up big plays just like he normally does.
Give him his gold jacket.
Bradbury was getting burnt 2 weeks in a row. So it's like
that dude is absolute junk. All right? He broke up a touchdown pass on accident. He fell down, and Cooks had to do. It was a throw to the end zone for Cooks in the second half. Bradbury falls down, makes Cooks trip. Had Cooks have just jumped into him, it would have been PI. But he literally saved the kid that embarrassment. But
and it's just even their strength, which was their interior defensive line. I feel like all those dudes from Georgia that they just draft,
because I said that so many times.
They could not stop the run. We were just running straight up the middle. They couldn't do anything. I don't know if we've ever run that. I don't know if I've seen us have that much success running up the gut this year.
That's because
than on those guys.
We've been saying this on this Cowboys Culture podcast. CCP has been a big proponent of saying you drafted all those Georgia Bulldogs and we got some kid from Tulsa, and then some old dude from Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And what happens is you put those 2 guys out there and they'll move you. I don't care if
that old dude from Notre Dame was down there blocking downfield, blocking upfield, basically placing Dowdle in the end zone. That dude's a Hall of Famer. Tyler Smith's on his way to a fantastic career. He plays lights out week after week. You never hear about. You never see his number called out on flags. It's always Terrence. It's Biotish can hold on you, but and then it's Big 77. Just forget about it. If he's healthy, you will not have a good game on the other side of him.
Yeah, he's great.
It's like overall.
But their offensive line that's touted as the best offensive line in football. All right. You've got just a bull rush coming at them nonstop.
You see what in the game. This is what happened in that game. You saw the best right tackle in the league. Micah kind of like pushed him with one hand, and then he comes around. Lane starts holding him. And then he grabs Jalen Squirts with his other arm, And while he's pushing Lane Johnson in like this, the dude's a beast.
Lane Johnson, man.
I'm pulling what's that guy's name? With the cutoff T-shirt. The punter.
Well,
McAfee.
Yeah. You're standing up while you're doing a podcast. So, but no. I was just gonna say that. Micah. Like, I love when this happens, right? And everybody kind of but Micah makes sure that very early on in the game, Lane Johnson, who's one of the best players at his position, I'm told.
Yeah, I mean, he's good. He's really good.
No, he is, and I don't mean to take a shot at him, but you know what Micah did, what'd he do early on? Hands to the face, put that face mask right up his nose. Yeah. Dude's nose was pouring blood and everything. And of course, we take a penalty for it and everything. It's early on in the game. Of course, it's just the Eagles, so we end up blowing them out anyway. But he made a statement. Hey, you guys are known for being physical. Y'all like to do all this physical crap. Everybody tells us that you guys are a mean group and everything. Well, how about we shove your face mask into your face real quick? He had a nosebleed, in the next play, and I loved it. Micah was like, "You guys are physical. Let's get physical."
Coming in with the flu too, man.
Yeah, to my point, what I was saying.
I didn't notice he had the flu. I know they were talking about it, but I didn't see anything slow him down.
With the flu, a guy who probably weighs close to maybe at least 70 pounds less than Lane Johnson, and Lane, like, if you were to tell me, like, anybody else, like, pushed Lane Johnson into Jalen Hurts and tackled him, I'm like, yeah, that cap. Like, that didn't happen. Micah Parsons at 250 pounds pushed Lane Johnson back into Jalen Hurts and got a sack.
Yeah.
That's unreal.
And even though not a huge sack night for him, I mean, outside of that one, it's like still just the presence of him was just – you could tell Jalen Hurts was just not able to be his full self because he just kept having to account for him all the time, and it was making him – get the ball out faster than he wanted.
And I like that you brought up the O-line concept because, I mean, Osa was he was doing his thing, bro. He got back in the backfield a few times. D-Law was D-Law was getting back there too. If you saw that same play I'm talking about, D-Law was back there just as much as Micah was.
They took a lot of those design draws off the table for them. The design quarterback draw and everything where he goes back, stands for a second, then takes off. We only saw that like twice.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm saying. Like if you break it down, like my takeaway overall, you break it down, matchup versus matchup. I think we legitimately beat them at every single matchup in the game, including OC versus defensive coordinator, game plan, head coach game plan, game management, everything. Like, I just think we thoroughly just said we proved we are just on a different league than you guys are.
Yeah.
And just beat them down, even dominate. Like, I heard somebody talking about this, like, I think it might have been Michael Irvin, I don't remember, but saying you went in, you didn't just attack a man and beat him at his weaknesses. You went in and you said, "Oh, you guys are good at you got some first round picks up in the middle. You guys can stop the run. All right, we're going to beat you running the football." And just dismantled them, embarrassed them. All the made the Eagles fans have to leave early. All those Eagles fans that for some reason, I mean, I know they're delusional, but thought they had a chance in that one. And
they showed
up.
They
just beat them at every aspect of the game.
They wanted
and sent them home with more questions. Somehow find a way to send them home with more questions than they had after last week's loss. But so that's my overall take from the game.
Can we
cry Eagles cry? So let's just jump right into what we do here, right? Let's just jump into talking about Ethan, you're talking about, those Eagles fans. They showed up. Did you see any Kelly Greens?
Oh, I saw
some Kelly Green. They great or what?
I saw the Kelly Green, baby.
So, you got your freshly ironed Kelly Green on and everything. You show up there to just get absolutely obliterated, but
From start to finish,
just from
man.
wire to
You paid
wire.
the cash.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Took
it's
the flight.
It's an
Took the
expensive thing to do, right? I mean, we've all been to. I've been to some far away games, and it's a beat down. If you're gonna. I'll never forget. I was in the elevator with some guys. It's before I lived in the area. I was in the elevator with some guys in downtown Dallas, and we were about to head out to Arlington for the Dak's Packer game here in the playoffs. Could be, yeah, I think so. Anyway, we were getting ready for a playoff game and everything, and these Packer fans and they're could hear their accent. They were all kind of cutting up with each other, getting ready and excited for the game, and you could clearly tell that Midwestern accent and everything. And my dad was with me at the time. Shout out Randall Baronet. He's no longer with us, but he's late and great. But he's like, man, what's it run to get down here for a game like this? And they're like, plane tickets and hotels, no big deal. It's getting into Jerry's world. Mm-hmm. And of course, we're talking about a time where this is still the touted stadium of the NFL, and these dudes were paying like $1,200 and $1,300 to get in this game. So
yeah, at least they gave him a
yeah.
Aaron Rodgers gave him a game.
Yeah, now I could only imagine. After hearing that and everything, I could only imagine like what it must be like to take that kind of trip to lose. So
and lose like
you
that.
didn't just lose.
Yeah. So so the narrative going into this game. All right. Now shout out to the people that work for NBC. Those talking heads, which I know, our beloved Jason Garrett's one of them. But, man, like everyone, I think only like Maria Taylor took the Eagles. But I want to say outside of her, all the other talkers for NBC on Sunday Night Football, I think all of them took Dallas. So at least that group of people are safe. But these day shows, these day-to-day shows, these day-to-day pods, a lot of them thought, it's Dallas in a big game. It's Dallas on Sunday Night Football in a big one. There's no way they can win it. So, that was sort of the narrative going in. I mean, what's the truth, E?
I think that there's two things that are true now, and then I'll talk about the narrative.
Yeah.
The truth now is that the Cowboys and the Niners are the best teams in the NFL, not just the NFC, in the NFL.
That's not our opinion. That's just true.
Like they're probably like 2 to 3 steps ahead of everybody else.
Yeah.
And, you can talk about the Niners. They beat the Cowboys real bad, but we weren't playing the way we are now back then. I think it'd be a closer game, and I think it'd be a more exciting game, and I really don't know. Before I was like, oh, yeah, they're better than us. Now I'm like, I don't know. But another truth is that the Eagles are the Vikings of last season. The Eagles are 100.
It's confirmed.
100% the Vikings of last season.
The only difference is Kirk Cousins is better than Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, the Kirk Cousins can actually pick apart a defense, and Jalen Hurts is a RPO product, a one-read product, and he couldn't throw his way out of a paper bag. Anyway,
he's got the 4th and 1.
Yeah, he's got the grab me by my panties and pull me across the first down line push thing, which don't we did it better than you in the game against you.
Oh, we revolutionized it.
we didn't have to do it. We handed it off to Rico. Dak did a little
Dak
thing.
didn't need to get pushed from the back.
CD did his little jet sweep. It was
he's
just
a
beautiful.
big body. He does this.
Yeah, he does this. He's a big body. The Eagles scraped. You can say, well, the Cowboys. I'm not going to say it like anybody says it before because I'm going to be rude. But the Cowboys only beat blow out bad teams. Well, what did the Eagles do to bad teams? They scraped by the hair of Jalen's chinny chin.
Blew out another one last night.
But when you see them play, and then when you see them play a good team like. Where again, I want to say this what I said last time. The dude called your players trash, and then he showed up to the link. He showed up to the link, and he had 3 touchdowns, and they blew the doors off you. And you're like, all right, yeah, our biggest rival, the Cowboys. Yeah, we got beat up last week. Well, we're coming back for the get back.
AJ said, they said, how are you going to address what happened on the 49ers game? He said, you're going to see next week.
You're going to see. AJ Brown said, you're going to see.
And he did this thing like this. Yeah. Y'all going to see next week.
Yeah.
Got your cheek slapped, boy.
And then a 170-year-old corner proceeded to just pocket you all night.
They always talk about how big body and strong you are, and the dude just went, pulled it clean out. Little boy.
Graybeard Gilly just handled you all night.
And I mean, it's just like, so you come to your division. Here's what I want to understand before we get into like what was said before. You come into Dallas. You got all the fans out. There was so many of y'all, and you had the Kelly Greens on, and you guys. Jalen comes out and
they love those Johns.
Yeah, Jalen comes out and does his little thing in the corner, trying to be like Tom Brady or whatever, and you didn't score a single touchdown. You got outscored by Brandon Aubrey. I mean, what does the Drake verse say? Don't tell me you scared of the Drake. Don't tell me you scared of the Aubrey. Well, you were. We could have just not had Dak go out there and just have like Cooper Rush like toss it to Terp and run down to like the 60-yard or not the 60-yard line, the 40-yard line on our side, and just have him kick it all the way into the a 70-yard field goal, and we still would have won. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like back-to-back weeks. But anyway, gosh, y'all suck. The narrative about both teams coming into this was the Eagles are just they're just a better team. They're just a better team. Yeah, boy. I mean,
and you ask them why? Why are they the better team? Why are they the better team?
Well, because
they never would say why.
Because their record. That's what it always is.
The record.
No matter what happens,
and they find a way to win games, whether it's scraping by against bad teams, or, in my opinion, scraping by some mediocre, which is pretty much every team in the mediocre AFC teams. The Bills, the Chiefs, who aren't playing well. I mean, they had a race to 20 points against Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, and they both have terrible defenses. So what does that tell you about both of those teams? There's no defense in the AFC that can compare to the NFC, and they barely made it to 20 points with insane quarterback play. I mean, come on, man. You guys barely scraped by these teams, and we blew you out.
Right. So it's no one will tell you why. It's just the Cowboys suck and Dak's a fraud and Dak does this all the time. No, we don't. No. I have been asking for Dak's head in my day. All right. So true. And maybe even earlier this year.
Yeah, but, there was a moment where Steven was saying he wanted to move on.
I'm ready to get past
the 49ers.
The Dak era.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Because I didn't see obviously it. I'm in Cowboys fan deja vu all over again, right? It's we're gonna blow out those bad teams and we're gonna get our butts stomped by great teams and so on and so forth. And I was stuck in that. And then Dak after that, I mean, it's wake up call time. Everybody turns it on. Mike McCarthy changes his mind about everything. And I still go on. I'm still on the Mike McCarthy roller coaster all the time, right? But Dak Prescott starts playing out of his mind. The team comes together. He starts utilizing Brandon Cooks. He starts utilizing Ferguson. Tony Pollard, resurgence again. So,
okay, I'll say this: the reason, the biggest thing that I was just dumbfounded on is building off of what you said, which is they would just say the Eagles are just better than the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
They're just better. I mean, look at that. They got unbelievable receiving core in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith with Dallas Goedert and a tight end. You've got that unbelievable O-line, and obviously Jalen Hurts is just awesome. And I'm sorry, Jalen Squirts is just awesome. And then on the defense, you got all. What did Shady McCoy say? You got all pro Darius Slay. You got all pro James Bradbury.
All pro.
Pro Bowl James Bradbury. You got all those Georgia Bulldogs. Man, look, you can't. I mean, it's and then the Cowboys. The O-line. The shaky and without Diggs and Bland got torched this past week, and Dak only plays good against bad teams, and I mean he must have. I mean you guys must be bad because he played really good against you even the first time, which y'all are bad. But it's just like they never wanted to give it to the Cowboys. You know, like, yeah, I mean, the Cowboys are just that good. It was like they held us into the same. It honestly is so flipped. They had it so flipped the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
It's
true.
it's the Jalen hasn't really played good, and last year they only played good because their defense was better. Their defense was actually solid last year, and even though James Bradbury it has been trash for a while now, that's why the Giants were okay with just giving him to a divisional rival because he is trash. But their defense was, you had C.J. Gardner-Johnson, you had other pieces out there that could play, and you had Javon Hargrave. Those players could play. Yeah, and their coordinators that they lost. Those are vital pieces, and I think what was so good about them last year is that they had a more complete team. But this year, they're trying to rely on. They spent all this cash. You spent all that money and flushed it straight down the toilet, hoping you could rely on Jalen because apparently somehow we think Jalen shows up in big games and it's him that does really good. But you're trying to use that O-line and give him all the time in the world that you possibly ever could, and the dude can't throw his way out of a paper bag, man.
What's Jalen Hurts' 2023 signature win? Kansas City?
The Dolphins?
Is it Dallas?
It can't be Dallas because he had like 160 yards.
No, I mean just if you want to tout, if you want to tout the fact that if you want to tell me that Jalen Hurts, if Dak Prescott does not show up in big games, he blows out bad teams and does not play well in big games. But Jalen Hurts is a guy who shows up and plays massive in big games. What's his signature win for this season? Is his signature win for 2022 the playoff game where you got Christian McCaffrey warming up as quarterback? Is that a big signature win? Is that, because he was cheeks in the Super Bowl, especially in the second half, and then so tell me which big, huge, monstrous game does Jalen Hurts, hold above his shoulder and say, "See how I play in big games"?
And that comes down to.
Do you have an answer?
How high? No,
okay.
Because that comes down to how high of a regard you hold AFC teams. Because they were touting this dude after they scraped by the Bills and after they scraped by the Chiefs. But the problem is I don't think there's a team in the AFC that is as good as even the top. I mean, the Seahawks are looking better than the Eagles right now. And the Seahawks put up a better fight than y'all did. I mean, honestly.
The Seahawks are like the opposite of the Eagles, right? The Seahawks are a team that just, for whatever reason, they have bad luck. And they're actually a really good team. We saw that last Thursday night.
Yeah, well, and what I was going to say.
They put up a better fight versus the 49ers, too.
100%. And
no, they were looking really good early on.
Look, they have young players. They don't have old men like Darius Slay, who's just always leaves CeeDee Lamb butt cheeks wide open, and just lets him kind of walk in, like I said, and do that little dance. But the point is that they could totally lose next week, totally lose, especially in Lumen, whatever field or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, like I was saying, the narrative.
I mean, if Geno Smith plays, I would expect it to be a very close game.
Yeah. Man, I'm telling you guys, the narrative is that Jalen is in the MVP race before, and then they have this unstoppable Eagles team that just finds a way to win. You've lost 2 in a row, and it's just like the 2 biggest games of the year, back to back. This keeps you you own Dallas and you sweep the Cowboys and you win the NFC East, and you choked 2 games in a row. Not only did you choke and lose by 5 points like what we did, we didn't choke. We got it kind of stolen from us, which Dak said after the game, but you got blown out by your conference rival and your divisional rival. I mean, that's embarrassing, guys. Yeah. I mean, chill with this. Like, Eagles fans have to understand that Jalen Hurts is not even a top 10 quarterback, man. He's just not.
And if he is, it's just because there's not.
I mean, think about this. But just think about this. Nick Bosa came on. I mean, these Niners are violating you guys. They came on. The dude came on and said, "Yeah, I mean, we pretty much figured out how to stop this dude. I mean, we called him trash and all his players trash, and we said we were going to beat the doors off him before the game, and we came in, and then afterwards we destroyed them, and then afterwards we said, yeah, I mean, we figured out how to stop this idiot. We just plug and cover. I mean, just don't try and beat that awesome O-line and let this dude run like he wants to do all the time, and just like confuse him in the backfield, and the dude will just throw it all the way to freaking Antarctica in the stands. Or he'll try and run, and then he'll slide. I mean, we saw it like 6 times yesterday.
Or he'll trip.
Yeah, or he'll trip. Or I saw him like 5 times throw it like in the middle of nowhere in the field.
Just in the empty space. Yeah. So, I mean, this Jalen top 10. Would you let's little project real quick. Would you take Josh Allen over Jalen Hurts?
10 out of 10 times.
Would you take Burrow over
Absolutely.
Jalen Hurts? Would you take Dak Prescott over Jalen Hurts?
Every day.
Would you take Jordan Love? Let's get
I would
fun.
right now.
Honestly,
I would right now.
Would you?
He's doing a lot more with a lot less.
Would you age aside? This year, would you take say Geno Smith over Jalen Hurts?
I would say, well, similar situation. Yeah. Similar situation because Geno doesn't have as good of an O-line as he does, but they have similar receiving core.
Do you think Geno Smith is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts as far as all-around quarterback?
If we're being real, if we're being straight up, they have similar situations. The only thing is Jalen has a better O-line, and Geno's playing better, so I'm taking Geno.
All right, one more. Would you take Sam Howell over Jalen Hurts?
That boy, if that boy was on the Eagles,
if that dude had that O-line,
if that dude was with the Eagles right now,
I would actually be scared of him. And I said that, and you guys can go back and check the tape. I said this at the beginning of the season, that I was more scared of Sam Howell than I was of Jalen Hurts. The thing is what people
he might be the worst quarterback in the NFC.
The thing
East.
is the media
Dimes can really
all
put it
these
up.
and all these casual fans and the Eagles, all they want to talk about is record. Look at how many games Jalen has won, and that's for that reason he needs to be MVP, right? But when you watch these games, he is not very similar to how Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy's playing good, but you take out Debo, and you take out one offensive lineman, they start dropping games, right? You take out if Christian McCaffrey's gone, he's confused. Mm-hmm. Okay, Jalen. You don't give him an elite defense that is winning the turnover battle by multiple turnovers every single game. If you don't have significantly less penalty yards than the other team, you don't win because why? Jalen Hurts plays like he did last night versus the Cowboys, where he can't get anything together. The first time versus the Cowboys, he couldn't even scrape together 200 yards. In the Bills game, the dude had 30 yards at half. And you're going to say this is the if that's how you play in big games, how can you say that's the MVP? And so to answer your question, it's like the only reason Jalen Hurts is even the guy that people think is even somebody that can be in the conversation for a top quarterback is because of his team. We saw that before they got A.J. Brown and stacked their defense. Even the own fans were asking to get the dude traded. You bring in some of these superstars, now all of a sudden he's taking them to the Super Bowl? Mm-hmm. No, it's the other way around. The team is carrying him, and the truth of it is, the truth is, and I saw somebody tweet about this. I wish I could give him credit, but I don't remember who it was. That Jalen is actually the guy that everybody is saying that Dak is, mm-hmm. which is that guy that's that has to have everything around him to go well, and that gets carried by his team, and he doesn't really play well in big games. In reality, in big games, it's not him; it's his team. I mean, look at the. I think
if you're being 100, look at the narrative around every single offensive player that the Cowboys has. CeeDee's not a real number one. Why'd you trade Dalton Schultz? Pollard can't do it on his own because you just traded Zeke away, or you cut Zeke. Who is Tyler Smith? Why would you trade a first-round pick for Tyler Smith? He's trash.
Had flag problems in college.
Brandon Cooks is old, but he's at 1,000. And then he starts the season as he's been quiet. And Gallup doesn't have it anymore after the ACL. And somehow Dak is taking this team and blowing the doors off people and making every single one of not that they're not, but making every single one of these guys look like a star.
No, I mean it's you do have to hand it over to Dak. I mean, Jake Ferguson from Wisconsin is not Jake Ferguson without an MVP caliber quarterback.
Right.
Brandon Cooks is a downfield threat, and he needs somebody that can drop dimes to be Brandon Cooks.
Then you got on the flip side, you got Jalen, where all of these superstars, every time, which he does it a lot, by the way, he's a machine at turning the ball over, by the way. Every time he does something stupid, which is like
He made sure you knew about it last night.
at least 15 times a game, those superstars will come and coddle him like he's a baby. Like, hey man, don't. I saw it so many times. The dude kept screwing up, and they're like, do the whole
he basically
helmet tap thing.
he basically gets helped off the field after every 3 and out.
Here's the bottom line.
Bomboclat.
Dak, like I was saying, Jalen Hurts is the guy that everybody says that Dak is, and Dak is the guy that everybody says that Jalen Hurts is, which is that guy that gives you a chance every single game, that can lead your team forward, can carry his team, and then a guy that deserves to be the MVP. If you're Jalen Hurts, even if throwing away everything else that happened this season, if you want to do that, that's fine. Or everything else that we've been talking about related to this season and how bad he's been playing, that's fine. You're Jalen Hurts. You have a chance right here to solidify yourself as the number 1 seed in the league, sweep your division rival. You come out and you can't even manage to put a touchdown on the board with the best O-line in football and arguably one of the best receiving weapons in the entire game. There's no excuse. He himself should get out and say, I formally withdraw myself from the MVP conversation. Please do not put me back in that conversation because I don't deserve it.
And take $20 million off my contract.
Yeah, and any fans
else.
that don't agree with that are delusional. What's the excuse? What can you say about it? Is your O-line bad? Are your receivers bad? No, we can't. You can't. You know that's not true. So who's the bad? Who's the bad? Who's the bum?
We just went through the list, right? There's a lot of big time quarterbacks and there's a lot of middle of the road quarterbacks. We just said we would trade for Jalen Hurts. So it is what it is. There's guys you would take over him. He's just kind of not that good.
It's so funny. It's so funny that like this is like the strong Eagles team. Like you guys are at the peak. Like over the last 10 years, like this is kind of peak Eagles time. You know what I'm saying? Or like at least 5 years. And the Cowboys have really dominated like the NFC East, especially with Dak. And we still beat the doors off you. I mean, it's just
and I think we proved because like after the first game when they won, even though we were 6 yards. First off, for the record, we were 6 yards away from sweeping these dudes. But they did win the first one, and I think that obviously everybody who watched that game, including us, what we were saying was we kind of outplayed them. We just kind of had some unfortunate breaks when it came to, some different penalty calls and also, stepping out of bounds here, you're getting your knee down too early here. And we all felt confident that, and even some of the media were like, yeah, the Cowboys, they lost, but it really wasn't like they actually played really good. And I think what we came out and did yesterday was just such a dominant performance that we proved what we were saying, which was the Eagles just keep getting lucky. The Eagles got lucky in our game. Watch, we'll show you. We'll play them again and watch what happens. We beat them so bad, we shut them down so bad that we show you that was a fluke. We are in an entire different league than these people. Dak solidifies himself as an MVP. It's
about 5 weeks too late for him to be the front runner.
And the Eagles, in terms of the narrative, obviously all the Eagles fans, and I want to see if we get any Eagles fans interaction this week because typically that's what we've been getting
what are they going to say,
know,
Jacob?
But I've been getting we get mostly
they're slime balls.
a lot of Eagles interaction because they know we're better than them, but they can't take it, so they have to talk trash, and they had that record, and that's all they wanted to focus on was 10-3, 10-3, 10-3, or 10-1 at the time, whatever, and that they beat us in Philadelphia, even though they know what happened. They saw the game. But I want to see, first off, I want to know the answer. It's a true or false question. Do the Cowboys only beat up bad teams or not? Is it true or false? Cowboys only beat up on bad teams. I want to know. I just want to know.
It.
So just let us know in the comments, Eagles fans, if you're watching.
Because we almost beat you as bad as we beat the Jets. We also beat you.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just.
So the Eagles don't. They don't. And Jalen Squirts, they don't deserve any more of our time. let's look forward, shall we?
Yeah, so let's look at the Bills game. We can be brief. I mean, I think the Cowboys have a very good chance up there in Buffalo. It's kind of funny. Ethan, he always, he's the kind of guy. He's the kind of Cowboys fan that goes into a season like this, which there's some merit to it this year, especially coming out of training camp. He was convinced we were going 16-1, and the one game that he thought we might have a chance to drop would be up in Buffalo. Here in this week. So
in Buffalo, where it's cold.
It's cold. It's not the comfort of the Death Star where we play so well. I do expect, because of that kind of weather and because of those kind of conditions, the outdoor game and all that, playing on grass, I think up there, you get snow flurries up there this time of year. For me, I think we're going to win this game. And I just think it's because of the same reason we won this past week against Philadelphia. Though I think Buffalo is a better team than Philadelphia, I think they have a bad offensive line. I don't just think that they're not that good, but
it apparently won't be snowing on Sunday.
Well, that's positive. I mean, you want a clear day, even if it's going to be freezing cold. But I just think when you have the likes of Micah and everything that comes with that, and the secondary playing really well, so that we have the freedom to get after that offensive line and get after Josh Allen, I think we have a real opportunity to give him a real bad day.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that, unfortunately, I would love to play all players healthy. Matt Milano's down. I don't know if he played yesterday, but obviously Von Miller's in the clink, and then I think they lost it. Did they lose? Oh, they lost Tre'Davious White.
Early on, yeah.
And so
go Tigers, Trey.
Yeah, and we're down obviously Trayvon, which would have just been. I was so looking forward to this game.
Diggs on Diggs,
because I wanted to see Diggs on Diggs so bad, and you just know Trayvon would have clamped Stephon.
Man, I don't know
bad.
I don't know if we're ever going to get to see it now.
Yeah, it's so sad. I mean, we'll get to see it every day in practice next year when Stephon comes over to Dallas. Which, hey, buddy, we'll take it. But you are going to be the number 2. Just hope you know that. And you're going to be taking a significant pay cut and a stat cut. But anyway,
so maybe stay there.
Yeah, and you're 30, so I mean, CD's doing better than you are, and he's like 25.
So how do you see this thing playing out?
I follow. I actually, the Bills I call my AFC team. I like them because they got Diggs over there, and I like Josh. So. I'm not going to be disrespectful.
They're a likable team. I'll give you that.
I'm not going to be disrespectful to the Bills, but I like them. Man, I you want to say, well, the Cowboys playing an out. There's always this narrative about the Cowboys that, like, if it's anything out of the ordinary, if it's away from the Death Star, if it's cold outside, or if it's on grass, or if they wear those blue jerseys that they've got, or
that's stupid,
or whatever it is, whatever you want to pick on that, like, well, the Cowboys don't. Well, if you look at the stats, the Cowboys they haven't played good in whatever scenario you draw it up.
What kind of nerd sits around and thinks about crap like that?
Yeah.
I get the cold.
Yeah.
I get the cold weather when you play 90% of your games inside. That's fine if you want to throw that in as a factor. But old stats from years past.
It's ludicrous. And it's honestly, it's not true about the Cowboys. Obviously we lost in Arizona, we lost in San Francisco, we probably should
warm weather and Arizona's inside.
Yeah, we definitely should have won in Philadelphia, but we lost in Philadelphia. But I mean, we won in Carolina.
We've won in Philadelphia. Dak Prescott's played lights out in Philadelphia in December before.
We've won in Carolina
when it's freezing.
We won in Carolina, which I don't see the difference between them and the Eagles. We won against.
I love it.
We won. I mean, I don't really know all the away. Oh, didn't we win in? No. We played the Rams here. Oh, we won at Chargers.
Yeah,
we won.
Ideal climate,
and that's when the Chargers were actually competent.
Well, but that's why this is going to be a good test for us.
But this is going to be a good test. But what I was going to say is that, I think if our defense can make Josh look like silly Josh, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Where he just
throwing it into the 8th row.
It isn't clicking with Diggs, and I think you bring Trayvon in and you say, hey Trayvon, tell us everything we need to know, give us some good insults to say, whatever the case may be, get in his head, kind of like how Gilmore did with AJ, and I think
they go against each other all summer long. So Trayvon can even give you stuff like, hey Duran, hey Gilly, when he takes that first step inside, you can bet that he's going to do this route.
Exactly.
When he switches feet at the line of scrimmage, he's going post.
And Duran's pretty much the same player as Trayvon. So I mean, they play very similar. So I'm sure it's going to be a good matchup too. But what I was going to say is I don't think their defense has the firepower anymore to hang with our offense. Our offense is, whether people in the media want to believe this or not, our offense is just straight up unstoppable. Dak on the first opening drive is cash money. Take it to the bank. CeeDee Lamb will get his, and so will Ferg. And that's why, I just don't think that there's. I mean, sure, they can put up a good game against anybody because of Josh, but I don't think they got a prayer, man. I really don't.
They just don't against our pass rush. It's their trench warfare. Their D line doesn't have what it takes to go up against our O line. No.
Our O line is better than people ever get credit for.
The only way they're going to win is if like something weird like weather takes effect, or we just have an off day from Dak Prescott. Which just, what signs do we have to make us think that's going to take place?
I'd argue that this past game was an off game for Dak Prescott, and the dude still had 2 touchdowns and 270 yards.
Yeah, maybe his second half he took a little bit off of it, but you get to a certain point in games like that where it's like you stop putting stuff on tape.
Yeah. They just need to conserve clock, but no, I think that.
What are you gonna do if Pollard and Rico are gonna eat like that? What are you gonna do?
No, I think this game, I'm with Ethan. I'm excited for this game, and I have been all year because I do like both teams. Obviously, I like the Cowboys significantly more, but in terms of the AFC, I like the Bills, and so I'm excited for this matchup. I've always been high on Josh Allen. He can always, at any given moment, he's a baller, and he can just carry his team. But I do think. I do think this, but I want to ask you guys: do you think that we are the best team that the Bills has faced all season?
I don't know. I don't really know exactly. Let me just look at who
because
they played.
They've got.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. So this is going to be their. They've struggled. They've had 7-6. Yeah. Well, so they've had some tough ones, and they've had some tough breaks. I think their defense is compromised. They've got a lot of injuries.
I just want to say something about that. Yes, I do think that we're going to be the toughest team that they've played all year. But I do want to. I guess when it comes to who you like in the AFC and stuff, I do like to give Mahomes his props, because any game where you have to play against Mahomes and you have to play against the
and it was in the Arrowhead.
When a defense has to play against him,
it's pretty impressive.
And his impulsiveness and his way of just making things up in thin air, that makes it extremely difficult on even a good defense. And I just want to say that we're a different team than them. I believe we're better than them, but it's going
to be a great game.
The fact that Josh Allen, and he scrapped for that game against them in Arrowhead and found a way to win. And I just I think it's worth saying that was a game that they didn't have any business winning because of the pass rush was so crazy, and Josh Allen still grinded out a win. So though I think this is we're the best team they're going to play all year, Josh Allen has found ways to win tough games.
Look at they beat the Dolphins 48 to 20.
Yeah,
I get it's a divisional rival,
and they've had some injuries since then. But the thing is that's what I was trying to say. First off, I do think being away and in the cold, so far we have been a different team away than we have been at home, right? So I think that is going to play a factor. Now that's why I said earlier it's a good test for us, because we have an opportunity to start to change that narrative here against a good team like with a really good quarterback like Josh Allen. But I was going to say I personally do think the Bills are better than the Eagles. I think they're a good team. I think that the Bills outplayed the Eagles when they went against them, and I think Josh Allen has been a baller the last few weeks. I think that it's going to be. I think that, like I was saying earlier, I think we are the best team that they have played so far. I think that we have a really good matchup when it's our offense versus their defense, which is what I think is going to be the difference maker. I think that Josh Allen, just because he's Josh Allen, has a potential to just make it tough on us, keep it close.
Yeah.
But
superstar.
And honestly, he is good enough to if we make some mistakes and things don't go our way, he is good enough to win this game. But I personally think that we're going to win. It might be a little bit more tough than what we would like it to be, but I think we're going to win a tough one versus them because their defense is compromised and Dak's just at a different level right now. But even still, I'm excited for this game. It's going to be a good matchup.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, I didn't really have anything else. Did you guys?
Yeah, I mean, just again with the looking ahead, they tell us it's real tough, right? For what we have next. I look down that schedule and I don't see San Francisco anywhere on it. So I just ain't got a real reason to be scared yet. Yeah. All right. So we talked about this a little bit this morning. The San Francisco the Dallas Cowboys that the San Francisco 49ers are going to get in January, they haven't seen yet.
Yeah. Not in years past ever.
We were not this team when we played them early in the year.
Hey, and just really quick to what you're saying is not the Cowboys, because we've been high-flying offense before. We've been unstoppable defense before.
Sure.
We had 3 forced fumbles against the Philadelphia Eagles.
6 this year.
That's physical. That's when have the Cowboys been physical outside of Donovan Wilson and maybe the occasional Leighton Vander Esch?
Dan Quinn's calling card is taking the football away.
Yeah.
There was a really cool piece that Collinsworth was talking about Al Harris, the DB's coach for the Cowboys yesterday. He's like, man, I don't coach scheme. That's Q's deal. Q coaches defense. My deal is I coach how to be in the right positions at the right time to take the football away.
That's so
whether that be
sick.
Whether that be the corners and the Durans of the world who are getting picks, whether that be Gilly like last night, hand in the right place at the right time on the pass, or it's the safeties who are ripping first and tackling second. So I just thought that was really cool, and that was such a trademark of his playing career. I know you guys probably didn't see a ton of that, but that's who he was as a player. He's already the most swagged out looking coach on the sidelines anyway, but as a player, he was like that. He was known for taking the football away, and that's what he coaches our defensive backs to do, is to put them in the best position.
Awesome.
Put them in the best position to take the football away. And he does not believe in one. If you ever see anyone for the Cowboys get an interception, get a takeaway, recover a fumble or whatever, Al Harris's thing that he tells them when they get over there, he don't high five, he don't do nothing. He says, hey, there's one more out there for us. We can't stop at one. There's always one more out there.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Place yourself in the right place. Yeah. So anyway, I can't wait for this week. It's the Bills. I think we all have a reason to kind of like the Bills. It's funny. My best friend from my hometown, his family's originally from Buffalo, and we're of a certain age to where the Buffalo and Dallas have this weird rivalry in our minds. Us older hats from the 90s. So yeah, can't wait to see that play out, and that's all I got.
Well, hey, thanks for tuning in, and if you've watched this far, you're a trooper and you're a real Dallas Cowboys fan, and you're an Eagles fan and you're upset, or you're a Bills fan and you're optimistic. But thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Or like and subscribe on Spotify or wherever we have her on our podcast on. if you follow us on Instagram, or if you don't, make sure you follow us on Instagram at cowboysculturepodcast, or not .com, Cowboys Culture Podcast. Like all of our photos, please comment if you are feeling indifferent on our Reels or our TikTok. Make sure you follow us on TikTok as well at the same Cowboys Culture Podcast. And we will see you guys next week. Go Cowboys. Die, Eagles, die, baby.